Welcome to the OmniAccess Wireless AP1101 video training. At the end of the course, the participant will be able to identify the AP1101 components, install a wireless network based on the AP1101, describe and set up the available options for deployment of an AP1101, the benefits of this training. This training course addresses any person in charge of an installation of an AP1101. There are no prerequisites. We will cover simple deployment to more advanced ones, including options. In this module, we will cover the presentation of the AP1101 and how to connect it to your system. Traditional wireless solutions are not suited to SMB environments. They require a large investment in resources to be implemented and maintained. The cluster-based solution used by the AP1101 resolves these issues. You also keep the same levels of features compared to a controller-based AP. Unbox the access point. In the packing box, you will also find an installation guide, 2 ceiling rail adapters, and the license agreement. Please select the topic you want to study by clicking the corresponding button. To begin the setup, you will need your access point 1101, an OmniSwitch 6350, and an Ethernet cable. Connect the Ethernet port of the access point to the port of your 6350 switch. The access point will be powered on by the OmniSwitch through PoE. Check the LED on the front of the access point. In this module, we will look at the first steps to set up the AP1101. The objective of this module is to provide information that is required to set up the ALE AP1101 and access the AP's management interface. Before installing the AP1101, make sure that you have the following: Ethernet cables of the required length to connect the AP to the OmniSwitch, a power over Ethernet source such as the OmniSwitch 6350 or a PoE adapter, a DHCP server. Connect the access point to the power source. If you have followed the previous modules, the access point is already connected to a port of the OmniSwitch 6350. You can also use a PoE power adapter to power the access point. After the access point powers up, it will do a DHCP request. If the DHCP server times out or if there is no DHCP server in the network, the access point will be configured with a default IP address of 192.168.1.254. The DHCP client will still run on the access point so that when the DHCP server recovers, the AP can get a valid IP address. Connect a PC or laptop to the access point network. In the Microsoft operating system, click the wireless connection icon in the system tray. The wireless network connection box appears. The name of the SSID generated by the access point will be My Wi-Fi plus the last 4 bytes of the MAC address. Click the My Wi-Fi network and click Connect. In this module, we will cover the basic configuration of the AP1101. The objectives of this module is to provide information that is required to configure the AP1101 for the first time and generate the two SSIDs, employee and guest. Open a web browser and enter the IP address of the AP, which is 192.168.1.254 by default, followed by the :8080. In the logon screen, select the administrator user and use admin for the password. You have reached the setup wizard. Click on Next. For better security, you can modify the administrator password. Change and confirm the new password. The access port supports different regulatory domains. Select your region and time zone. A new management network can be created. It will replace the My Wi-Fi network. Create a new network called Management and specify a passphrase of at least 8 characters. This is the last step of the wizard. Then log on with your new password. An employee network is a standard Wi-Fi network. It will be used by employees in the organization. Both passphrase or 802.1x based authentication methods are supported for this network type. Employees can access the protected data of an enterprise through the employee network after successful authentication. In the WLAN window, click New. Click Advanced to configure the advanced parameters. Name the network Employee. Check that the security level is set to Personal. We will use a passphrase authentication method. Configure the passphrase and confirm it. At the end of the setup, click on Save. The guest wireless network is created for guests, visitors, contractors, and any non-employee users who will use the enterprise Wi-Fi network. Captive portal or passphrase-based authentication methods can be set for guest wireless network. Typically, a guest network is unencrypted, but you can change it in the Creation wizard. In the WLAN window, click New. Click Advanced to configure the advanced parameters. Name the network Guest. Set the security level to Open and enable Captive Portal. At the end of the setup, click Save. Captive Portal must be activated on the access point. Scroll down, click Access, and then click Authentication. This will open a new window. Click the Captive Portal switch to activate it. Click Add and enter a username and password. Start date and end date. A new guest has been created in the internal database of the AP. Open your Wi-Fi connection manager and select the employee SSID. Click on Connect and enter employee for the passphrase. You are now connected to the requested network and you can start browsing. Open your Wi-Fi connection manager and select the guest SSID. Open your browser and type in any URL. You are forwarded to a captive portal asking you to accept the condition of use. Enter the logon and password guest you have created earlier on in the access point. You are now connected to the requested network and can start browsing. In this module, we will cover the advanced configuration of the AP1101. The objectives of this module is to provide information required for the advanced configuration of the AP1101. It will allow the administrator to customize and monitor the AP1101. To change the AP name, click AP in the AP tab. In the Detailed Information tab, click Edit, rename the AP, and click Save. To save the AP's IP address, edit the IP mode. By default, the AP gets its IP address from a DHCP server. For manual configuration, click the static and enter the new IP address. The net mask and the default gateway. If you want to manage the AP, click the AP tab. Click the Config link to review the configuration that will be pushed to the AP. Click the Firmware link to upgrade the firmware of the AP. You can either select local firmware with image file or FTP the firmware with image file URL. Click the Reboot link to reboot the AP. Confirm the reboot by pressing OK. In a cluster, you can specify a single IP address to manage the multi-AP cluster. The AP is automatically provisioned on a shadow interface of the AP that takes the role of the primary virtual controller. To specify name and IP address for the virtual controller, click System and then the General link. Enter the name in the group name text box and the IP address in the group management IP text box. Use a relevant name for the location for better maintenance. And give your cluster a unique ID with the group ID value. When using a WPA or WPA2 Enterprise SSID, you will need to define an external radio server that will authenticate the users. Click the New link under the WLAN tab and then select Advanced for additional settings. Name your WLAN and select Enterprise in the security level option. This will enable WPA or WPA2 Enterprise SSID. Enter the IP address of the radius server and the secret key in the auth secret text box. Finalize the WLAN creation by clicking on Save. The AP1101 supports Captive Portal authentication method for guest network. When using Captive Portal, a web page is displayed to guests when they try to access the internet. First, confirm that your guest WLAN is using the guest network type and the Captive Portal is enabled. Click WLAN to edit your guest WLAN and check these settings. Then you need to globally enable Captive Portal on the AP. Click Access, then Authentication to turn on Captive Portal. Users can then be created on the internal database. Add users from the Account tab. Give it a password and set the account's start and end date. Alternatively, you can use an access code for user authentication. You can also preview and customize the Captive Portal by clicking Customize Captive Portal. Once the user has access to the Captive Portal, they can enter the username and password that was provided or the user access code. A firewall is a system designed to prevent unauthorized internet users from accessing the private network connected to the internet. Firewalls define access rules and monitor all traffic entering or leaving the network, blocking traffic that does not satisfy the security policies. The firewall treats packets based on the first rule matched. To create a firewall policy, click Access and ACL. Add a new ACL and specify the source and destination, the type of traffic you want to match, and select the Reject or Accept action. Finalize the ACL creation by clicking Save. RF management is a radio frequency management technology that optimizes WLAN performance, even in networks with high traffic, by dynamically and intelligently choosing the best Wi-Fi channel and transmitting power settings for each AP. To access RF management, open the wireless window and click RF. Select the AP you want to configure by clicking the Edit icon. ACS is automatic channel selection and is activated by default. Disabling it will allow you to manually configure the channel of transmission. APC is automatic power control and is enabled by default. Disabling it will allow you to manually configure the transmit power emissions of the AP. ACS and APC configuration is separate for the 2.4 gig and the 5 GHz radios. One of the most important security features is detecting rogue and interfering APs that can potentially disrupt network operations. In the Wireless Intrusion Detection or WIDS window, you will find the list of all rogue APs and interfering APs detected by your access point. Some of the interfering APs could be legitimate APs. You have the option to trust one or more of these APs so that the security features of your AP1101 will not disrupt legitimate AP traffic. your AP1101 will create a whitelist with all the legitimate APs.